Good evening, everybody. It's Leith Vaughan up in central Queensland. We're just having a few people come in now. The numbers are really starting to come in. We might just give it another 2 minutes if that's okay, and then I'll come back, introduce the amazing Diamond Ambassador Kate Arthy, and we will proceed with our presentation for this evening. So hold your horses. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. It's Leith Vaughan. I'm a Diamond Ambassador with Newways up in central Queensland. I've got the privilege tonight with sharing, Kate's going to share with you, an awesome presentation on social marketing as a career. It's what I like to call a non-traditional career path that makes good old-fashioned sense. And just a bit of background on Kate. Kate's an amazing young lady, very passionate about helping people, also very astute in the area of business. Both have actually come from a corporate background, which makes them really well, fantastic resource to be able to present something that is non-traditional. So a bit more about Kate and her partner Steve, husband should I say. Crystal executives, a pinnacle rank within Newways. Diamond Adventure qualifies for Borneo in 2013, and on the way to do that actually reached car qualified and also Diamond Ambassador shortly after. So I'll let Kate run through her presentation. Are you there, Kate?
I am, Leith. Can you hear me?
Fantastic. Technology is working all the way out in the bush.
Excellent. Awesome. And thank you for that wonderful introduction. And hello to everybody on the webinar. It's so great to see so many of you on the webinar. It's very, very exciting. And don't we have some exciting times ahead? It just gives me butterflies thinking about it. And so, oh look, there's my lovely picture. That's my husband Steve there and I. So you can put a face to the voice if you haven't met me or seen me before. And as Leith mentioned, I'm going to be talking about social marketing, this wonderful industry that we are in, as a career. And, why would we talk about this? The wonderful Ginny Parker, who is an amazing leader in Sydney with her husband Linton, she really summed it up for me one day when she did a talk about what this industry and our company really provides, and that is that it really equips you for change. So we live in a world today where things are changing so rapidly, and that comes with that comes a lot of uncertainty, which can be a good thing or a bad thing depending on how you look at it. but I really hope to point out how social marketing with New Ways can really equip you for that change. And, you know, using our personal experience that Steve and I have had and the time in the industry as an example for that, you know, and my intention really is to inspire change for the better in many areas. So, you know, really want to give you some insights into the benefits of this profession. And, you know, we really know that the income is a key benefit. It's, you know, certainly one of the major things that drew us to the model, but it's really some of the other benefits that has really kept us here, and that's what I really want to unpack more of for you tonight. And, you know, some of you would have been at our previous conventions and presentations and seen economist Harry Dent speaking about now being the best time to move from part-time to full-time in this industry. And we do that first and foremost in our mindsets before we actually do it in the physical. You know, doesn't matter, you know, who you speak to who's really generated significant income in this company, most of them will tell you how, you know, they were working a job or even, you know, full-time mum or having some other income backing them whilst they built their New Age businesses. So, you know, it's not like you should up and drop your job tomorrow and pick this up. That's what's the beauty of it, is you can do this and build this for your future whilst you're in your job. So really looking at shifting our mindsets from a part-time mentality with this to a full-time or a career mentality with moving into this to really get the most out of it. And so I wanted to look at defining, well, what is a career? And, you know, it says here, an occupation undertaken for a significant period of a person's life with opportunities for progress. And it just was funny to me down the bottom there, a verb is move swiftly in an uncontrolled way, as in the coach careered across the road and went through a hedge. And I think sometimes in this business we do feel like that. We do feel like we're moving swiftly in an uncontrolled way. And, you know, to me, that's what's so exciting about it sometimes. You know, it's definitely never a dull moment. But, you know, looking at this, and down the bottom there it says the origin. This was really interesting, is that the origin of the word in Latin meaning a wheeled vehicle. And that's what your career should be, is a vehicle for your life. You know, to have you get whatever it is in life that you are looking for. So you obviously want to make sure that your time and the efforts that you're putting into what you're doing for your life or your career are really going to fulfill on what's important to you. And I'm sure you hear some of the leaders say you want to make sure your ladder is up against the right wall. And so, you know, I really want to show you how if you invest your time and energy into this, you are putting your ladder against the best wall that you possibly could. So some of you would have seen this before, the cash flow quadrant, and this is basically the 4 ways to produce income. And so we have on the top left there is obviously you're an employee, you have a job, and you're trading your time for money. And about 5% of people doing this will generate wealth, or 5% of the population is where the wealth sits in that, and for people who are doing that. Down on the bottom left, you've got self-employed, where you own a job, and these are people like even, you know, doctors and lawyers. You know, they might have their own business, but they're self-employed, so they've basically bought themselves a job, and they're still trading their time for money. And so this left-hand side of the quadrant is 95% of the population is doing that in some form. But over on the right-hand side, we've got at the top business owners. So these are your big business people, where they have people creating the income and the wealth. And down the bottom right, we have investors. So this right-hand side of the quadrant is where 95% of the wealth is, and it's around 5% of the population. And so what we're doing here is moving ourselves from trading time for money over to the right-hand side of the quadrant and helping us to actually get out of that just making ends meet every month. More months left at the end of the money, all those kinds of expressions. And this is what Steve and I really saw, many years ago. And if you've ever heard of Robert Kiyosaki, he has a lot of books on this topic. One of the really good ones I'd recommend is called The Business School for People Who Like Helping People. And that's what we do with this. And, I think people can get a bit funny about money sometimes. It's one of those topics you sometimes don't want to talk about, and I was certainly one of those people in the beginning, because we have a lot of paradigms and mindsets about money, but money in the right people's hands can do a lot of good. And it's not about the money, it's what you can do with the money that can absolutely change your life and many, many other people's lives. And if you don't want it, you can give it away. So we kind of tick that box with this industry. We know that it's a proven way to generate wealth, financial freedom, even just extra income. So we know that's a given. So we want to look at this changing nature of the Australian workforce. And again, Michael McQueen is one of the awesome presenters that we had at Convention and Leadership last year. Some of you would have heard him. If you haven't, I highly recommend his books as well. And Michael's an award-winning speaker. He's a social researcher and a best-selling author. And he really has his finger on the pulse when it comes to emerging trends shaping business and culture. And so I got to ask Michael recently 3 questions. And one of the things I asked him is, what are people looking for in a career today? And he really sort of showed me that the idea of a portfolio career dominates today. So that's one that's really focused more on skills and people, looking at developing as many skills as possible, because they're portable as they move from job to job, because you're having so many of these career changes over a lifetime. So on average 5 to 7 career changes over a lifetime for the average person. But then, in the Gen Y category, they're more looking at like 10 changes, and then people entering the workforce now are even more looking at like 15 changes over their lifetime. So, gone is the days of job security and a career for life. And then when you look at, how does this differ from between generations, younger generations really embracing the idea of this portfolio careers, and because they've been raised to expect them at school. So, they really mesh well with this type of business. And for the older generations, the new world of work can be far more confronting, which Michael was telling me. Many have been climbing corporate ladders for years now, and then they're realizing their ladder is up against the wrong wall. And they've been specializing in on a company or an industry rather than developing a broad range of skills. And, Michael really says, I have a good deal of sympathy for those people who are midway through their career and are now finding the goalposts have moved. So the challenge of reskilling and reinventing yourself as a middle-aged employee can be significant, because this is what employees are expecting, is multi-skilling. There's broader job descriptions, diverse working arrangements. There's increasing loss of this work-life balance as well. Expectations from employers are different. The marketplace is very different. Gone is the 9 to 5. We often hear of people working, starting before that and finishing after that. Outsourcing of people, overseas, particularly in the area of technology, and then, foreign investment as well is creating a lot of change. But the two main things driving a lot of these changes is the economy and technology. So this is the workforce that we are looking at today. So very, very different to, 50 years ago. And so the other thing I asked Michael, was, are people looking for a career or a job? And he said to me that he doesn't think it's a choice between those. It's that people are looking for opportunities that will build their skills and enlarge their networks, all the while paying the bills, of course. So, with this, I think this is one of the best on-the-job training that you can get anywhere else in the world. And that's certainly been, Steve and my experience. And then this industry as well is amazing. We just had an event on Saturday, and one of the girls in our team was chatting with someone who was at the event and got offered a job. So it's the community of people they're exposed to within that people network. That's what we naturally do. So everything is just in our favour with the changes that are happening, and then I'm going to talk about more how it really equips you for that change. But you can't escape from a prison until you recognise you're in one. This is such a gold statement in my eyes, and this is really what Steve and I were starting to recognise, the trappings of traditional business and the trappings of trading your time for money. And that's why it's so hard to get out of that constant cycle of not quite having enough, or it doesn't matter what age you're at, a lot of people are struggling in that area. And then even more so for us, it was a lack of fulfillment in what we were doing, and really wanting to do something greater with our lives, and something of significance. And I'll talk about what's coming in the future a little bit more and how we're so excited with that, but that just is so fulfilling for us, for being a part of pioneering a whole new industry that's coming. So, it was going to the New Ways events and our team events that really helped us to see there's another way. And, I didn't understand all of this at first, but I kept going to the meetings. And, Steve's been a member in New Ways for like 11 years now. And, there's been some ups and downs in that time for him, but he never stopped going to the events. He always stayed connected in. And, that's another beauty of this as well. So this is really helping us to escape into freedom and into fulfillment. So we'll just share a little bit about our career paths to date. Steve was an IT professional. That's what he studied. He started climbing the corporate ladder in that field, living pay to pay, as I mentioned. He was having to constantly upskill and do after-hours study to keep himself competitive in that field. It was really hard for him to see any light at the end of the tunnel. He really felt trapped. Then through coming to the New Ways events, he started to develop a range of skills through the personal development that we do. He started to expand his thinking. His beliefs changed dramatically about what is possible for your life and what is out there. We saw that people were creating the kinds of results that we wanted in our life. So we knew that it was possible, but we just didn't have the vehicle until we came across this. Then he went into real estate to, explore another opportunity whilst building New Ways. He did that for 2.5 years, had some really great success there, but, it still wasn't what he was looking for. He did a massage business, then he went back to doing some IT contracting, and now he's in a really great job that he loves in the music industry, but still it's a it's a great job for now. It's not a lifelong thing that he sees for himself. It's great for now to pay the bills, and he enjoys it, whilst we are full-time in our mentality of social marketing with New Ways. So that's it. That's how Steve's journey's been. And then for me, I went to university. I studied exercise science pretty much because that's what I was passionate about. Didn't really know what I wanted to do with myself. I came out of that. I actually did my last year of university on exchange to New York, which was a pretty awesome experience, and that really broadened my eyes. Then I kind of came home, didn't know what I was doing. I just fell into doing personal training, working in a gym, and then I started my own business. I did that for about 4 years. Loved helping people, loved having the flexibility of working when I wanted to work, but I pretty much worked all the time. When the income was great, it was great, but then you know, it was very up and down, so it was very hard to plan for anything. And anyone else in traditional business would agree with me that you know, cash flow is so essential and often a real challenge in traditional business. And I really wanted to help people in such a bigger way. So I was really starting to feel unfulfilled in that, so I thought, what's my next passion, which was dancing. So I moved from the Sunshine Coast to Brisbane and started managing a dance school, and that's actually where I met Steve. He was doing some IT at the dance studio, so I was doing some teaching, administration as well, but you know, I was loving what I was doing, but it just wasn't paying the bills. And during this time started to go to the New Ways events, started to explore this idea, this new idea that I'd never really heard of before, and it all seemed like an amazing idea, but how is this going to work for me? Can I do this? All these questions going around in your head, but I kept going to the events, and Steve stayed in contact with me. I then went into the corporate world in mining recruitment, and that was an awesome experience. I don't believe that any experiences in life are, you know, without method to the madness. You know, I think if you're willing to look at it that way, everything you can grow from. So whilst that was highly stressful job, it grew me so much, and it showed me what I did and didn't want even more. So the money was good, but not a lot of time. And it also showed me, like, my boss, who was on very good money, had zero time with his family, and his health wasn't very good either. So, you know, that showed me a lot and opened my eyes to a lot. And then we also have a traditional business in water filtration, and mostly that's an online thing, so it doesn't take up a huge amount of our time, and it's just something Steve's really passionate about. You know, and we want to have multiple streams of income, but our first and foremost priority is our business with New Ways. And so, you know, as I started to get my head around this, we really shifted into that full-time mentality of really actively building this, and that's when we started to see the results, which was about 3 years ago, where we put the pedal to the metal, you know, went for the Diamond Adventure qualifications, as Leith mentioned, and qualified for car qualified, and then went Diamond as well. So, you know, and this is just the starting point. We feel like we're just warming up the engine. So much more to come. This is a really awesome quote that I found. The most important kind of freedom is to be what you really are. You trade in your reality for a role. You trade in your sense for an act. You give up your ability to feel, and in exchange you put on a mask. There can't be any large-scale revolution until there's a personal revolution on an individual level. It's got to happen inside first. and that was by Jim Morrison. So, you know, we really believe that that's one of the most significant things that this industry and this company in particular has given and is giving us, is the freedom to be who we really are, you know, and that's very rare in any other career path these days. You know, we're working towards freedom in so many different ways, not just financially. And, you know, freedom is not having any limitations or restrictions on who you can be, what you can do, where you want to go in the world, the kind of life you want to lead, the kind of impact you want to have on people. You know, you can be who you want to be and who you're created to be. And, you know, we're gaining the skills and the abilities to be equipped for anything that life throws at us. You know, not just to merely survive, but to thrive and create an amazing life and really inspire change out there. And, you know, when you inspire change in yourself, you cause others to change and others to step out of their comfort zones and think, well, maybe I could do that too. You know, Kate was able to do it, Steve was able to do it, Leith was able to do it. You know, Pauline Rowley did it from a hospital bed on kidney dialysis, you know. So it doesn't matter who you are and what you've experienced. You can do that when you have the courage to step out. You just cause other people to want to do the same. You know, so that personal and that professional growth and development in who we are really has us have a resilience and a mental toughness and you know, ability to problem solve and adapt to change. So it doesn't matter what happens to you in life. You can, you know, you can walk through it, and you've got an amazing community of support that, you know, people will bend over backwards to help you, not just with your business, but in life in general. And that's, you know, you really get to see the heart of that if you come to convention. You can still make that happen. I'd highly recommend that. And, you know, you learn to lead a team of people, and, you know, on a business side, you get to learn how to develop a business and manage a business, you know, so there's just an abundance of skills that you get from doing this. And one of the, you know, I guess skills that we've learned from being a part of this is, you know, the ability to goal set and to dream. And this was one of the things that we had wanted to do for a while, is to go on an overseas snow holiday with some of our best friends. We went over to Canada. We wanted to ski some of the best mountains in the world. So we visited Whistler and we visited Big White in Canada. So this is us on the top left there with the snow dogs, and we went in a sleigh. That was pretty awesome. I think that was Steve's highlight of the whole trip. There's the crew up there on the right-hand side. We're on a lift. There's Steve, which looks like he's on the top of the world there on that mountain. That's at Big White. And that's where we stayed, on the bottom left there, which is called the Timbers. It was just beautiful. And so, you know, this was something that we didn't know how it was going to happen, but we just had the goal. And we've learned in this business that it doesn't matter, that if you can't see how it's going to happen, it doesn't matter. You just have your goal and you focus on that, and you ask yourself, how can I? And if you keep that laser focus on what it is that you want, the how will show up. And it did, and we were able to go on this amazing, life-changing trip of a lifetime that we always wanted to do. There I am in the top right, snowboarding with Kim Mayer. So Kim and Antoine Mayer from the Gold Coast in Newways. And again, we met them through Newways, so we, you know, have met some of our best friends through this company. And on the left there, that's Steve at the ice hockey game. And the bottom right there, that's us in, or me in Whistler with the Olympic rings. So it was just life-changing experience. On the way there, we stopped in at Disneyland in Hong Kong and got to be kids for a day, And especially for Steve, that was a childhood dream come true. You know, and it actually really brought up, you know, a few emotions there running around that day. Really is the happiest place on earth. If you ever get the opportunity to take your children, or, you know, even as adults, to go to Disneyland, any of them, I would highly, highly recommend it. It is truly an amazing experience. So we got to do that. And of course, if you're going to North America, you've got to stop off in New York, and that's one of my favorite places in the world. On the top left, that's us in, on top of the Empire State Building. On the right there, that's Steve on the Brooklyn Bridge, and on the bottom, that's us ice skating in Central Park. And this was around Christmas time, so it was all decked out in the Christmas spirit, as they do over there. And again, just the most magical experience being there. Then on the way back, we stopped in at the New A's head office in Utah, and this was one of the most amazing experiences and days in my life. You know, I've been a member in New A's for 6 years. Steve's been a member for, you know, 11 odd years. And yeah, definite highlight of our time with the company. You can see the head office building up there on the top left, with the mountains of Utah in the background. Even just seeing that landscape was totally mind-blowing, because we don't have anything like that over here. On the right there, we got to spend some time with Robert Conley, the CEO, who, you know, I don't have time to go into it, but he is one of the most extraordinary people I've ever met, and, you know, wouldn't want any other person at the helm of what we do with New A's and what's coming with the future. And then Bob Finnegan over there on the left, in charge of the marketing side of things. That was just such a privilege to spend some time with them, and that's actually in Robert's office, so that was pretty cool. On the bottom left there is some real, you know, game changers and young social marketers over there in the North American market who are absolutely going for it, and it was so cool to spend some time with them and see what they're up to over there as well. And, you know, they're so keen to get to Australia and start building over here as well. So that was just such a cool experience. I could talk for a whole hour just on our day at the head office, but, you know, you hear so often of the quality that New A's goes to ensure that we have the absolute best products in the world, and to actually see it with your own eyes is just so completely incredible. It really is what they say happens is really actually what happens, and even far beyond that as well. So that was just the most incredible experience. So, you know, summing up and looking at social marketing, it really is a better way for so many different reasons. You know, we talked about the income. It's unlimited. You know, you actually get security with this. It's a great plan B, even if it's not your, you know, main thing that you want to pursue. Work-life balance. You've got the flexibility of doing life on your terms. Freedom in yourself, your lifestyle, and actual leverage to have more time in your life to do the things that you want to do. You know, when I was in the corporate world, my boss, who was creating all that income, he had the money, but he had no time to do anything with it, and he certainly didn't have his health either. So, you know, this gives you freedom in all areas, ownership over something for you, you know, that your time and your efforts are going towards something that's going to pay dividends for you as well as for generations to come. This is a willable asset, so you can truly leave a legacy for your family and so many other people on the planet. You know, making a difference, the heart space stuff, that's what really gets Steve and I. The personal and professional development, as I've mentioned, you know, you get skills for life, best on-the-job training in the world, and you know, we really do have some of the most incredible leaders in this company in the world. So I think sometimes when we see them all the time and hear from them weekly, or, see them at the convention, we can sometimes take that for granted, but we truly do have amazing, amazing leadership in this company, and that's why it is so successful and why we have the opportunities coming that we do, because of those people who have gone before us. We're not limited by education, or how much education you've had or haven't had, the skills you have or haven't got, your experience, the past, age, gender. It doesn't discriminate, this company. It's, do you have a willingness? Are you willing to step into this? There's no competition between people. It's about building people up and lifting people up. And then, of course, the health benefits. You've got to be a product of the product. So, in the beginning, to me, that was what, one of the things that, brought me into it, was very health focused. But, I've kind of ticked that box now, and it's just a given for me that that's what we do. We're the Healthy Homes company. We help people create healthy homes. But when you're looking at this from a career perspective, that to me is a bonus to everything else that you get. Michael McQueen, who I mentioned before, this is his latest book, Winning the Battle for Relevance, and that's what social marketing is. It's relevant for the 21st century. And in this book, Michael goes into why even the greatest companies are becoming obsolete and how to avoid their fate. And so if you read this and you see the points that make being relevant in the 21st century key, you'll see that everything we are doing within New Ways and what New Ways is transforming into with Modere is totally in alignment for that, and we haven't even reached the tipping point of what the potential of this company can do in the world. And so if you want to be a part of what's coming for the future, I know we certainly do, then you've absolutely come across this at the best time if you're just getting started. And this basically sums it up for me. You want to, let me just find my page. You really want to belong to something that's evolving, that's dynamic, engaging, strong, daring, visionary, curious, functional, poignant, nourishing, bright, vast, satisfying, current, funny, thoughtful, mad, shared, bold, uplifting, comprehensive, sharp, provocative, energizing, detailed, happy, introspective, historic, connected, social, vivid, gigantic, dramatic, surreal. That just gets my heart racing, and, so ask yourself, is what you're doing right now with your life all of that, and is this going to be able to give you that and have you be a part of something like that? And especially from visiting the head office just recently, I have no doubt in my mind that that's what we have in our hands. And so the question isn't can you, it's will you. Or as I said, all you need is to be willing. Be willing to be teachable, be willing to be committed to the process and do what's required and listen to the people who have gone before you and done it. That's all you need to do. The rest you will learn along the way. It doesn't matter if you're scared, you're not sure, there's people to walk with you to do that. All you've got to do is put your hand up and say, yes, help me, I want to do this. And you'll absolutely change your life and many other people's around you. So I think we'll wrap it up there. I'll hand you back to Leith, and I think he's got a few questions for me. And thanks for listening.
I certainly do, Kate. Wow, that was fantastic. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I've got you.
Great. Just quickly, I just wanted to jump back a step and just talk about Diamond Adventure and your qualification, the process you went through to qualify, and how important that was in your business.
Oh, it was it was really the reason why we are where we are today. You know, we saw you guys, you know, for those of you who don't know, Leith and Abigail, his sister, qualified for Diamond Adventure the year or the 2 years previous to Steve and I, and they went to Vietnam, and we watched you guys and what you did to qualify, and then we watched when you came back and you went car qualified and you went diamond, and it was like a springboard to your business, and we saw that, and I thought we have to qualify for that trip. You know, at that time, to me, the trip itself and the holiday was a bonus, but we thought it was a real structure for us to meet a deadline and really build seriously and actively for a period of time, and that's what we did. And then, you know, once we went on the trip, it was far more than we could ever anticipate, and it's just rolled on from there, you know, into diamond and meeting amazing people along the way. So yeah, Diamond Adventure was absolutely essential in where we are today.
I know we're 10 days into the qualifications, so for people that are still getting qualified, and Kate, is it worth it?
Absolutely, yeah. You will work your butt off, but for the investment of time, energy, and effort that you're putting into it, it will repay you 100-fold in many, many ways. So absolutely, without question.
Fantastic. So anybody still thinking about qualifying, do the work, it's definitely worth it. Back up. Now I know that but just what activities did you do the second time round that you think made the difference?
I know what you're asking me. I'll just repeat that because I think you cut out a little bit. But Leith was just saying that, you know, we missed out on the first qualification round because New Ways gives you 2 opportunities to qualify, and we had the first one go. That's already gone for Mauritius, and now we're in the second qualification round currently. And the second round is when Steve and I qualified for Borneo, so because we just missed out in the first round. So I think the key was to not get despondent and just keep going. And really, at that point, it really wasn't an option to us that we weren't going, because we just had to go. So we really had made we'd drawn a line in the concrete, not even in the sand. It was a concrete decision that we were going no matter what. So we just had to get busy, and we'd learnt a lot from what we did previous as well. So, you know, we just went again and did, you know, just went again, and we just had that full faith and belief that it was going to happen.
And obviously plenty of support as well, which is key.
Absolutely, like checking in with our leaders on a regular basis and being accountable to our leaders was probably one of the most important things for me personally, was, yeah, being like pretty much daily accountable to my leaders. And that wasn't for them, and that wasn't what they were asking, that was for me. So that, you know, if I had to tell them what I'd been up to, I didn't want to tell them I hadn't really been up to much. So, you know, I was doing the doing, I was doing the action.
Yeah. Just another quick question. Some fantastic photos of this trip. What other first-time experience have you had with New Ways?
Oh, so many. Well, like talk about Diamond Adventure again, just the opportunity of like I travelled prior to New Year's. As I said, I did a year on exchange to New York. I'd been overseas, but to travel with I think it was 200 odd people we had there, you know, like-minded people who are out to change the world, you're going on an overseas trip with, you're seeing them at breakfast, lunch and dinner, you're having amazing experiences with them, you're on an international flight with them. Like, that was most definitely a first for me. You know, the trip we went on just recently to North America, that was a first for me. And then I guess, like, you know, speaking to as many people on the webinar tonight is a first for me as well. You know, so many. I could just sit here and name so many, Leith. And that's what I love about this. You don't get that in any other profession.
That's right. The growth opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
And especially when you look at the definition of career that you put up at the front, with opportunity, with progress.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
definitely.
Again,
yeah, I think. Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, a lot of people I talk to today, they're worried about their job for whatever reason. You know, one girl I was talking to working in the oil and gas sector, their company was being bought out by the Chinese, and a lot of people were very, you know, worried about their job. And so they were, you know, being proactive and looking for a new job. And whether it's that situation or other situations, you know, that instability in jobs is really prevalent. So, you know, you often wonder, what is my chance for progression? But with this, it's whatever you choose. It's your choice. If you want to be a crown diamond, you know, global leader, you can be. If you want to be, you know, a leader in your community amongst mums or amongst, you know, retirees or whatever it is for you, you can do that. You can design it to be whatever is in your heart to do, so you can progress it as far as you want.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much, Kate. That was very inspiring.
Thanks, Lee.
People often to something, as I mentioned at the start, non-traditional, that make good old-fashioned things. Anybody can get in this business, and you know, you really take my hat off to what you guys have achieved. You know, that full-time mentality whilst, you know, working as well was a great point, relevant for a lot of people on the call.
Awesome, thanks, Leith. I think we're...
Again, social marketing, it is a better way. Security.
Sorry, buddy, I think we're just losing
I've got a bit of a delay here, but that's all right. I'll just wrap up. Convention is on a couple of weeks. I encourage everybody, you can grab last-minute ticket, and you get there. It is the year of transformation, and convention is definitely the big one to kick it all off.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody, for your
well
time.
Said.
And I look forward to seeing you in a week's time.
Thanks, guys. Bye.